He is committed to restorative, reparative, and remedial justice for his ancestors and all other emancipated persons in the United States. Mr. Prince has informed multiple. He is the current president of the U.S. Freedmen Project. We welcome you to Washington, D.C., Mr. Prince. Yes. Our next distinguished guest is Mr. Josh Ray. Josh Ray is a project management professional, an AI startup founder, and dedicated advocate for the reparations for the American Freedmen. As co-founder of the Power and the United Sons and Daughters of Freedmen, Josh has helped advance the movement for the establishment of an Office of American Freedmen Affairs and other important policy reforms in America. Drawing on his professional expertise and grassroots leadership, Josh brings a unique perspective at the intersection of operations, technology, and justice, engaging in a broad range of critical conversations around reparations, equity, immigration, and parenting. He is about that dad life. Welcome,
Put it right here.
Josh Grant.
No, put it right here.
We want to start it off by asking Josh, why do you feel it's imperative in reviving the American freedmen
to find ways to be what I call politically agile, politically nimble, to get what we could from either side, knowing that neither side champions our cause like we would. And so in New York, despite our heavy advocacy as the U.S. Freedmen Project, and I don't say this to impress you, but I say this to impress upon you all the work that the U.S. Freedmen Project did locally. Because whenever you start doing this work, those like the Roland Martins and all the other talking heads on the left will ask, well, did you do a plebiscite? But did you go to the caucus on the left and then do the caucus on the right and tell them what you need and fill out the right paperwork and get it signed by a notary? We did all the steps. So whatever steps they're saying is needed to get our voice heard by our representatives, we did it. We did it all. The U.S. Freedmen Project got invited in 2023 to go to the, Lord, let me get this right. We call it the POC caucus, but it's really the Black, Puerto Rican, Hispanic, and Asian caucus. Now that on its face is ridiculous, right? Let's just call it what it is. Imagine trying to take all those different demographics before we even get to the racial difference and the ethnic makeups. But these groups all have different political priorities. But they've been pushed together in this POC caucus kind of way, saying, hey, we're all non-white, so we have some solidarity that we could use, right? But we got invited to that caucus. And long before the bill that was signed, that created the commission that we have in New York now, which is heavily flawed, we taught them on how to get reparations right. We taught them about the freedmen status. We taught them the difference between black reparations and racial reparations and status-based reparations. And despite all of our advocacy and teaching everyone in the New York State legislative body how to get reparations correct, they still ignored us and went with this race-based model under the guise of calling it reparations for people of African descent. And now here is the problem with of African descent. Elon Musk is of African descent. Charlize Theron is of African descent. Zohran Mamdani is of African descent. Matter of fact, he called himself an African American.
Elon Musk.
I said that.
Oh.
And these are the issues with these blanket, uniform, generic terms that the Democrats have sold us in the name of Republican bad to say, hey, let's just all team up against them and we'll get what we need. Here's the problem with intersectionality for the American freedmen. It largely leaves us in the intersection while everybody else gets to hit the detour and we get run over by traffic in both directions. No more intersectionality. It's about specificity. And that's what we're pushing every time we go and interact with these Democrats and their reparations task force. In 2021, now instead of just because now what we're talking about is changing the frame of reference, right? We have a situation where whether you like them, love them, or hate them, Donald Trump came in and shook the foundation. And I liken it to the show, if you ever seen the Game of Thrones, right? It was one of my favorite characters. He said, chaos is a ladder. And what's been happening now since the establishment has been shook up, there's a ladder forming. A lineage-based ladder forming to get out of this racial conundrum that they keep us in as a tool of left-wing white supremacy to say, hey, you have to partner with other people that look like you, even when their reality and their priorities are a detriment to you and your group. That's insanity. And insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result, and we're no longer subscribed to that plan. And so what we have here is that in 2021, and I'm gonna be short now, Sister Roz, I'm coming to a landing. The AAPI community received their disaggregation bill in the state of New York. They wanted to be disaggregated because in a big conglomerate group of people, even though they have similar origins, because they're all immigrants, and have similar ethnic backgrounds, they all knew that disaggregated data speaks more specifically to their plight, to their unique political priority. Last year in 2024, New York also did a disaggregation bill for the MENA group, Middle Eastern North African. They were once identified as white. But after 2001 and September 11th, they were being discriminated against. And when they went for redress and they went for resources, the government said, no, you're white. And in America, you can't be discriminated against if you're white. And so they advocated to be taken out of whiteness and given their own minority status and minority group so that they can then apply and receive resources specific to their group. Now imagine us as the American freedmen being one of, if not the oldest ethnic group in this country that also happened to build the country.
And the largest.
And the largest, exactly, when you step outside of race, not having a disaggregated term. And I don't know if anybody knew this, because this blew my mind. So hopefully it blows yours. If it doesn't, it's okay, because it's still true. The American freedmen do not have a federally recognized ethnic group with which to receive not just reparations, but any specific policy that we might say is unique to our plight and to our families. African American, as of 1997, was changed by this federal government with Special Directive 15 to mean anybody with origins in any of the black racial groups of Africa. Let me say that again. African American is defined as anyone with origins in any of the black racial groups of Africa. That means Afro-Caribbeans are African American, Continental Africans are African American, Afro-Latinos are African American, Afro-Asians are African American. If some Afro-Palestinians came over here today or tomorrow, they will be African American. And the American freedmen are African American. Thus taking it from an ethnic designation to what? A racial term. Because anybody with any origins in the black racial groups of Africa is an African American. And what do we know about the 14th Amendment? The Equal Protection Clause? Race-based policies are unconstitutional. That's the trick bag. That's the whole game. That's the ball game. Anytime you invoke African American, which has been made into a racial term, and try to do policies, it's going to trigger the 14th Amendment, and it's unconstitutional. That's the game.
What about Indians, South Asian Indians? My daughter, we live in a building where there's a lot of them, and she was trying to get in the doorway, and he didn't want to let her in, and so my daughter didn't use her, started cursing him out. He said, I'm more African than you are. I'm African.
So we
He
talk.
told he was African, and he there, I'm talking straight black hair.
So which Indian? East Indians or Native American Indian? East Indians. Well, listen. Now to be perfectly honest, now we're talking about the Zohar Mamdanis of the world, right?
Yeah.
It depends on where their families immigrated from. Right, the Kamala. Come on now. It depends on where they came
He
from.
was African. He said, I recognize myself as being more African than you are, and I'm African.
And guess what?
Because he was dark, but he had straight hair.
Right, but he might be right. Let that sink in for a second. He might be right. Because African American does not mean us solely and exclusively. See, that was the game, right? In the 1980s, in my opinion, this is just I know you read the disclaimer, let me say it again. This is my opinion. This is my view. I believe the Democrats got Jesse Jackson to get his tie behind out there in the 1980s to say, let's go with this term called African American. Let's take this group, the American freedmen, and make them more comparable to Italian Americans and Irish Americans and East Indian Americans. And then here's what happened. They pushed that term on us in the 1980s. Guess what? There were meetings just like this one happening all across the country. They were protesting the term African American. We're just coming out of the 70s where we were black and proud. I believe African American was a creation of left-wing white supremacy. That's my view, Divine Prince's view. And I'll say this because I believe nothing happens in the vacuum, right? I believe they knew that they were going to redefine it in 1997, right? So you can't take a term like black and then add in people that ain't black, like that same person that stopped your family member. But if you take something as big as African American, you can make that be whatever you want it to be. And they have. Right? In the same way, and I'll say this and I'll answer. I'm sorry for being long-winded. Yeah. So, similarly to that, when I say nothing under Biden and Kamala with the migrant, what I call the illegal alien crisis, right? We see what happened. Now, let me tell you about what happened in New York. Long before that crisis took place, the city council in New York voted to allow non-citizens to vote in our local elections if the only requirement was they had to at least be living in the city or residing in the city for 30 days. We're talking about a month, a long extended vacation. And then you can decide the direction of our city?
DC tried to do the same thing.
Yes.
And the Republicans stopped.
Well, then I'm about to get to that right now.
Congress, not local Democrats.
Right.
But the Congress did it. So.
Mm-hmm. Here's what happened in New York, and this is why the U.S. Freedom Project is a proud nonpartisan organization. Because if we listen to our community, it would have been Republican bad, Democrat good. So if the Democrats are willing to pass us a bill that lets non-citizens to vote, and Democrats are good, then how could this possibly be negative to our black residents in New York? It's not possible, right? It's just not possible. But it is possible. And let's say that bill, and let's say that because it passed. De Blasio let it pass. Eric Adams came in and did nothing to it. Now let's just say the U.S. Freedom Project and the good, lovely Republicans of New York State did not get together and use the New York State Constitution to challenge that law. What would have happened by the time the migrant crisis came around? Right? I just want y'all to think about that for a second.
Yeah.
All of them would have been qualified and eligible voters. Who would they have voted for? What would they have voted for? Right? Let's just take them, just let that marinate, let that sizzle in your spirit for a second. Because at the time of that voting, there was a sister, Lori Kumbo. She got up and said, hey, this can't be done. You're going to purposely disenfranchise the American Freedmen New Yorkers and our voting power. That was me, so I'm going to stop. Not only, obviously, because it passed until we got it overturned, but they tried to blackball that sister. That wasn't the Republicans. That was the Democrats. Not because she told a lie, not because she was doing misinformation, but because she had the nerve to say, hey, this part of your agenda is going to negatively affect the American Freedmen voters in New York because you're going to dump all these migrants into those neighborhoods. That can't be done. We need to take a second look at this thing. They pushed it through, blackballed that sister, got her out the city council. Is why we have a majority immigrant city council in New York right now. And I'll say this and land, and I promise I'm landing. The reason why we have to advocate for American freedom and become politically self-interested, because all the groups that the Democrats look to partner us up with and force team us into coalitions with will always, always, always vote for their political priorities, and they will always unify on immigration status long before anybody unifies to vote with us based on melanin. And I land there. And my apologies.
No, this is wonderful. This is what we're here for. We're here for information. We're here to find out what's going on with reparations. We're here to find out who has been actually blocking the reparations efforts across the country, and especially for the American freedmen. And this is really important because people need to know, they need to understand what's happening. And we're in Congressional Black Caucus Week. So right now, I've looked in, when I was coming up, as far as the caucus is concerned, it was a mixed bag of Republicans, Independents, and Democrats. Now, every last member of the Congressional Black Caucus is a Democrat. So what do they, caucus means you get together and you do something for people. So who are they getting together as Democrats to do for whom? Because I have not heard anything coming from the Congressional Black Caucus in decades that have been specifically, primarily for the American freedmen. So it's important that we speak on these things that are happening and not happening, and who is blocking it. Okay? Thank you for that.
Yes.
Yes,
I've got
sir.
one comment about the CBC, because there's only one CBC member. And this CBC member is from North Carolina, who's voted for both the Laken-Riley Act and I believe it's called the SAFE Act. And essentially what this act does is that it allows people that are coming in illegally and they commit a crime to have a stiffer punishment. And he voted for that bill just last week. And there were 197 other Democrats that voted against him. So like, that's 2 bills for Don Davis, and I think he deserves some credit. So in the Laken-Riley Act, there were 8 other CBC members that voted for that act, but there was only one that voted for the SAFE Act. So I just wanted to clarify that. He deserves some credit and some praise because he's voting on policy for his constituents.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that information.
Can I say something about to what you said about the CBC? Is that
Yes,
possible?
yes.
So this is someone very, very specific to me because, like she said, I'm from Brooklyn, New York. So the now chair of the Congressional Black Caucus is Yvette Clarke, who is see, she has a fan in the audience. She is a Jamaican Afro-Caribbean, and she is the chair of the Congressional Black Caucus. I'll just let that sizzle in your spirit.
They all are.
So here's why I bring her up. Because largely when we talk about this political self-interest and we talk about us becoming ethnic and lineage-based advocates, largely around this time is when someone from the diaspora or Pan-African or some point or portion of the Democrat POC coalition will come and say, that's just divisive. Why are you talking about just advocating for yourself? That's not right. Yvette Clarke, before she became the chair, moved to bring a bill to the floor called the Caribbean Count Bill. Now, it did not go anywhere, right? So let's say that. I will say that. I want to make sure I'm totally accurate. But nonetheless, her constituents and fellow activists got together and pushed a Caribbean Count Bill. This is around, I think, long after, in 2010, they had the Carib ID 2010 movement, where they were also pushing to be counted in the census. Disaggregation.
Do it.
She then pushed it at the national level. Again, it went nowhere, but she did. But here we go in 2025, and as we're talking about disaggregation and getting accurate data and talking about delineation and creating an ethnic designated term for our people so that we can get set aside in resources, we get called divisive. And she had a town hall, and I went personally. Because we speak truth to power around these parts. Regardless of what you look like and regardless of your party. And though she championed this bill when I brought up disaggregation for the American freedmen, there were no talks, no plans. There wasn't even a willingness to say, hey, well, let's get together, contact my office, let's see what we can do. And these, again, are the Democrats. I'm not saying the Republicans are good. I'm saying both are bad.
I disagree.
I know.
I disagree too.
And we have to figure out a way to get what we can get from both parties. Understanding that neither is saying, hey, American freedmen, what do you need? What do you want? We got you. None of them are saying that. So whether you think they're good or bad or disagree, I can guarantee you one thing, ain't none of them saying, come on board, we need you, we want you, tell us the policies you want and we're gonna get them done. That's what becomes good and or bad for me when a party or an entity is saying that, and the only ones that's saying that are us.
All right. Thank you so much
Yes.
on that part of it. What we're going to do right now is take a breather because we have to do is we have to do a second part of this town hall. But thank you so much, gentlemen. As you see, while we have these gentlemen speaking, got a lot of information. And the second part, we're going to be speaking about policy over party. And we're going to invite, one of our, illustrious sisters to step up and, on that part, and to be able to speak to us, on the panel. So, thank you. Yes.
So we're just discussing, we're not taking right now? No.
You
I think she's
pause,
still
you
taking
pause?
I just want to throw something. If you all don't know, 158 Democrats voted to keep any child sexual offender that is under legal aid. I have. That means they're not quoted in the article. No lie. And it's gone over our heads because we've been so situated in this mentality.
Baby Bush.
Baby Bush,
W.
yeah. In the article.
Baby Bush was in love with a woman that raised him that's black. His mom.
That's why he loves Michelle. And we just,
One thing I would like to just comment on, Elon Musk is of Dutch and British ancestry, but he was born in South Africa.
That's right.
Right,
He's an African American.
but those families have been there for centuries.
Excuse me?
Those families have been there for centuries, those boers in South Africa.
Dutch and British.
Yeah.
Howard University, at what point, I was in the African Studies department at Howard, and they started considering thing. No one, you know, when you put money in your pocket, as you were so if we have no vigilance over the people that we trust to be so-called black they're gonna steal and betray us.
you have to say something. Get out here and say what we want.
You can't leave somebody's husband and you sleep with everybody in the pit bull, you belong to somebody else.
Right.
I want to make sure this sound looks like. Cause see, the letter's still going. Yeah, I don't know. Let's get
I don't care. Get on.
Nasty they are.
Parties
I will say, yeah, oh, Democrat, I'll just say, I did some work in the GOP, this last time, and I found some of them to be very reasonable when you start talking about, or speaking about reparations.
I've seen that also with Marcel Dixon. He's in South Carolina, and he's kind of surrounded. And I've seen him in a lot of like Republican spaces, and they are a lot more open.
Yes.
to
Who's a
things.
registered Republican in the room?
I am.
I am too.
Who's an American in the room?
Right, that's a good one.
Real question.
That's a real question.
The foundation of Black America.
Right.
Well, a lot of our great ancestors were Republicans because it was the party at that time, right?
That was a different party back then, though.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
of Lily White's, but you
Mhm,
got
right.
the Lily White's, but you also have to say, Nancy Pelosi and that group, they destroyed anything for black people in the Democratic Party. The Congressional Black Caucus stopped doing literally anything for black folks 20 years ago. When Nancy Pelosi became House Speaker. And your guy from New York.
I know, I
You
can't.
know, what's his name?
Hakeem.
No,
20 years ago.
AIPAC.
Charles Schumer?
At APAC Shakur.
Hakeem, yeah, Hakeem Jeffries.
So he's her toy, boy toy, whatever. This triangle situation, so it's the same thing. And Nancy Pelosi's father was the white supremacist mayor of Baltimore.
Oh, wow.
So, I mean, basically, this stuff runs legacies.
Yes.
And so you've got the Dixiecrats and you have the Lily Whites, and they both manipulate the parties against the interests of black people. However, when you get some hard-headed black folks in both parties, or whatever they want to be, It doesn't matter what you call yourself, it matters
What you
standing
do.
10 toes
Yeah.
down.
Yep.
Arthur Fletcher was a friend of the family. Arthur Fletcher didn't give a damn about nobody. He wanted black folks to have money, houses, jobs, but so many black people left the Republican Party, he didn't have any backup. Okay, that destroyed, so not that either party is good.
Right.
What has to be good is us.
The person,
For us.
yeah,
Right.
for us.
Yep.
We have to
Right.
get in government.
That's
There's
right.
no way we say, well, I'll wait, you know.
Don't give us everything.
Well,
Yeah, yeah,
so
real
y'all
basic.
be forewarned, a lot
Yeah.
of the Democrats are now saying I'm independent.
Yeah,
They're running
yeah.
to the independent party.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you still gonna have that conundrum, right?
Yep.
You're still gonna experience it, no matter which party you decide to.
That's why it's gotta be policy over party.
That's policy of a party. That's it.
Yeah, policy of a party.
That's it.
Okay, we have like 2 more minutes and then, well, we have a race for now, we can return. We
Yeah,
have
it's-
2 more minutes, then we're gonna start our policy over party, segment.
So, as far as I'm concerned, let's see, if my great aunts were living, they would be 120 years old. But 40 years ago, when I was 18, they took me to register to vote, and I didn't know what they were talking about. They said, "Oh, you gotta register. Just put Republican." They were all Republican.
Oh, they said put
Grandmother-
Republican? Oh,
My
really?
great grandma, yeah.
Oh, we
My
was.
great grandmother, her sisters, and I just stayed Republican, but I just always voted Democrat because people were like, "Oh, Republicans are so good." So I just voted Democrat, even though I was a registered Republican. But they told me to do it, and then as I got older, I was like, "Oh," I found out, that was the party that they were affiliated. But my great grandmother, she loved the White Eisenhower. She adored him. That was my grandmother's mother. So, and then her father, they were just all Republicans. They weren't Democrats. And so-
Were they successful?
Yeah.
That's usually what it is.
Oh yeah, they were. They had farms. They
Yeah.
had money. We have 33 acres of land in Virginia that's been passed down.
When
to
you
us.
usually, when you,
Madison County.
Okay.
Yeah. So it has a spring, a live spring on it and everything. This is what they had. So
yeah. Usually when you,
this is what they passed down.
yeah, usually when you financially go into another
Yeah,
bracket
they
and
were
status,
totally
you
different.
start realizing.
But you see, the Democrats under Roosevelt, what they did was, once they drove the people off the land in the South, we'll give you welfare if you vote Democrats. Okay, so we will, if you stay dependent, we'll make certain you don't starve, but we're not trying to teach you or help you feed yourself.
Yeah.
But that tends to be the game.
That is the game.
Everybody comes in, rises on our backs as we continue to be pushed to the bottom. They're getting the land, they're getting all the resources. Us being named as minority puts us in the pot of all these immigrant groups.
One quick question, excuse me ma'am, you're a teacher. Why is it that the educational level is so terrible in the United States? So many kids are not reading, they graduate, they can't even read at their level.
Well, that's easy because how many people, how many parents actually even go to that school board and demand that their kids are learning? How many parents even go to PTSA meetings at the school? I teach special ed, but I've been in the education system since 2008.
Well, why don't the principals call the parents and say come to, or the teachers call
They
them?
They do let them know. They let them know what it is. It's the parents that need to be
I'm not gonna
pushing
blame all
them.
the parents, I know we got some lousy
Yeah.
parents, but we got some
I'm
lousy
sorry.
teachers. We got some.
Oh, I'm a great teacher.
They got
I'm not insulted.
$100,000 a year, that's what they want in Chicago for a raise.
But I'm not in Chicago. I'm in Maryland.
And
the only thing I can tell you-
But I don't think the
But-
teachers make enough, like they do
Oh my
need
God.
It's
some
like if we go
motivation.
sideways.
Like
it's
some
a little-
teachers, but I
it's like
think
it's still,
your
because the
salary
roads
with the
usually go
raise and
sideways,
everything
look like
should be
this.
according to how well you teach the kids.
I
Kids
agree
are
with
taught.
that.
So it should be grade based. So if your kids are failing, if your kids are failing, then your pay should be.
But there's a policy, there are a couple of things. I have to have my business, but they decided to reduce the educational attainment a long time ago back in
Turn
the
us
80s.
around.
And then the
Oh,
other
you
thing
can't see the
is in
other
the
people.
60s, blacks were close to
Oh, y'all, no,
whites
we
and
just, this is just,
and they took phonics out.
like an intermission,
And we haven't fought-
intermission,
if you don't
right?
have
This is like
phonics,
intermission. So,
then how are you gonna function? I'm saying
it's just
as a
talk,
teacher, my
but
students,
we're getting ready to
they
start.
hated reading because they couldn't read. And ask the teacher, if she fails the
Yeah,
mark,
this
she
this was
gets
this
fired.
this was just intermission, guys. So we gotta start back in a minute.
Or you get destroyed. So if you went into debt hundreds of thousands of
Yeah,
dollars,
so that's why we didn't have it turned around.
you gotta hold that child. You have a choice.
Yeah, it was break
Hold
time.
the students accountable and have the parents in the law come after you, or pay your debt because you can't file bankruptcy. You end up homeless because you tried as an individual. Unless you got a Martha Collins who's in Chicago, you can break out somehow and teach people. Then we're jammed. But why should we go to people that we say hate our guts and expect them to feed us, educate us? I think about what the other do. Yeah, they do.
And
Yeah, they do.
Now, teachers
Yeah,
are
they do.
does
not know we hate like that.
But the teachers.
Try your son downtown. You're older than me. There are a lot of places.
About
I'm a
80% of
southerner.
teachers are white women as well.
Well-
We learned. But then they told what to teach.
Yeah.
And whether a kid is catching on or not, they're told what's wrong.
That's right, for sure.
So it's.
I can chime in as an educator in Chicago. The strategic planning, from Pedro, last year, his plan was no more remediation for the kids. So I'm a special educator, no more special education remediation for the kids. If they're special, I have a kid right now, he's reading at a kindergarten level, he's in ninth grade. They have him in self-containment when he should be in cluster. And you can't do that unless the parents says something about it. Because we can't force we can, as the educator, special educator, we can say, hey, we think your child needs it, but the parent has to agree in order for special education to go through. That's the federal law.
Does the parent know that?
That's federal law. That's federal law. That's IDEA. By law, the parent must agree to accommodations. If the parent does not agree to and I'm a parent too. If your parent does not agree, and I'm a parent of special education students, if the parent does not agree to accommodations, we cannot go further with any accommodations.
I had a
The
student.
only thing the school can do is try to sue the parent for due process of that child. But most educators are not gonna go that far. If the parents say no, the most we can do is try to help that child as much as we can.
Why would the parents say no?
Because they don't think nothing wrong with their kid.
No,
So
then
it's
denial.
in the
Yeah,
black
that-
community in
'cause the
particular,
Tylenol gave them
they're so
autism.
scared to hear that their child is autistic
Yeah.
or special ed. But the food and stuff that they've been giving our children has deteriorated their brains. It has. The stuff they've been doing to us they've intentionally have been poisoning us in the black community. Even the Army sprayed chemicals over kids in Detroit. So it's been an intentional thing, and it has been
Lakewood
done
Jones.
all over. But
Lakewood
it's
Jones.
been an intentional thing that they done to us. And in the black community, coming up in the 70s, 80s, you don't want to say a kid is special education because it's a stigma against it. And right now, in the standard in Chicago, I had to go and tell them my second grader is reading at a kindergarten level. You know what CPS told me? Well, she's an average level then.
And so I'll say
yeah.
this because if you understand, I had
Wow.
a special.
That's
They
wild.
know, they know.
special ed
That's fighting
student.
words.
I was helping.
Kid left
You know I
behind.
kept going.
He
I was
could
like, no,
not-
she's
He
gonna get her
wasn't reading
IQ.
well because he
But
didn't
you know
have
too, the
glasses.
same thing they did with the
I
men.
did not know that, and because I would read with him, and he would get the word right, then he'd get it wrong. And one day I found out he knew he needed glasses, and his teacher was white, and I thought the white teacher was responsible. I ran up 3 flights of stairs because I was ready to like go in on her. When I mentioned this to the teacher, she doubled over crying. I felt embarrassed. She had been trying to get the mother, who is black, to give her permission to give the kid glasses. but the mother was intimidated by the paperwork. She thought she was gonna lose the child, so I figured, oh, I can get the accommodation. I got a piece of computer paper, put my fingers in a bag of potato chips, made it greasy, and asked her for permission for the kid to get glasses. And she sent a yes back on the greasy piece of paper because that didn't intimidate her. And when we didn't know that she'd approved of that, she got afraid something was gonna happen. She pulled him out of the school. And he had a jacket this thick at 7. And so, I mean, I quit because I was devastated. I could have helped this kid, but sometimes the home is a problem and not the student. We got some broken families out.
We have someone on Zoom that said they want to speak. I don't know.
Pardon me, we have a connection. We're gonna get ready started. I apologize. We had a wonderful off-camera discussion,
Oh, Keisha.
and we're back. So we are linked with others that are called in or on our Zoom, and we're gonna allow them in the conversation. This is our second half. We're talking policy over politics.
If you want to speak, okay. Can you hear us, Keisha? Hello? All right, what am I doing wrong here?
Does she have her camera?
Mute yourself. Well, maybe I need, okay, let me see. Keisha? You can, she's unmuted. Okay, you are, I'm muted now, so should I, yeah.
Maybe we need to have her put it in the chat, the questions, and who is directed toward.
Okay, let me just say, let me do this.
Or maybe the
I don't know.
monitor is muted or something. Andre, do you know if the,
She can hear us, and I can't hear her.
I don't need any output from that.
For her to speak.
Conversation ain't started.
Maybe if we unmute.
I had her unmuted. I had her unmuted. Okay, speak.
Can you try to get these Oh, you know what?
Okay,
You gotta
Keisha.
get to about 4.
Okay, you can't hear her up there. Hang on.
I heard something.
Yeah, what?
Okay.
I did hear something.
The seat.
Yeah.
But she can't hear before I
Yeah.
Okay, hang on, Keisha. Turn up the volume.
She was telling you to come to the first.
Turn it all the way up.
Yeah, I'm turning all the way up. Hang on, Keisha. Oh, I hear her now.
Cause he back over here.
Okay. Keisha? She's still talking. We're not going to hear it there because he said it's not connected.
We're not connected there. I don't know how to.
She's talking. Keisha, hang on, Keisha.
Keisha, can you type your question, because we can't get the entire thing to hear you. We'll announce it for you and make sure that you can get the answer to your question or your comment.
She said, I said, conversation didn't start, she gonna say, okay, my bad, governor.
No.
She said governor.
No, they trying to make it work, hold on.
Okay, she is not gonna, we're not connected up there. Andre said we're not connected to that, so. she's gonna type her question or whatever she has to say, we'll get back.
TC
We'll get back with her.
Capital Hill.
I have her on the phone. If you want to take a question on the phone, I can put it on the screen.
Oh, okay. She
I know her, yeah.
Yeah, because we can't hear from here.
Okay, we're trying to hear someone on the phone.
Okay?
We're trying to hear someone on speakerphone, so
Yeah.
everyone keep
Yeah.
it down, please.
Thank you.
We're having a little bit of technical
Yeah,
difficulty.
because it,
Keisha?
Yes,
All right. They're listening to you.
okay. Thank you for allowing me to speak. I just wanted the host and, this town hall to understand that we in New York are fully in agreement with delineation and disaggregation. Because as our dear brother Divine already mentioned, immigrant groups have already legally been disaggregated from us, giving us only the bag of everyone else. And delineation is very, very important to advocate for our particular cause, which is reparations at this critical time. Also want everyone to know that when you have Pan-Africanist organizations and groups are in conjunction with political apparatuses such as the Democratic Party, this is severely problematic. And so we have to get these groups out of the way. If we don't, it is to the detriment of not just us, but those who are coming after us. So it is very, very important that we hone in on that and stay the course. Delineation and disaggregation is a must. We have to do it now. And that's just the commentary I wanted to make on today. Thank you all for allowing me to speak.
All right, thank you, Keisha. Appreciate you calling in and posing your question. And one of the things I wanted to do is just to dovetail on what you said, is that in various cities, we're fighting the good fight in various ways. But because most of us are not paying attention to like things that are happening on the internet, I said us as an American Freedmen group of people. Chicago is fighting, Chicago Red is fighting in Chicago. You got the U.S. Freedmen Project fighting in New York. You have the DMV Freedmen fighting in the DMV. But we all don't know each other and what each other are doing as far as overall. And one of the things that's controlling it is the media. The Chicago Flips Red is getting media press for Chicago, but New York doesn't necessarily know what's happening in Chicago unless you go to the internet or we happen to meet like this, right? So one of the things that we're doing, and we made, I'm the executive director for the DMV Freedmen. So one of the things that we're doing is outreach to our people, not just here, but we've been doing outreach for years. So that's why we have various advocacy groups for American Freedmen across the country. I'm able to reach out and connect with, say, a Brother Divine and be able to get him involved in coming down here and being able to have this conversation. I'm able to get in touch with Sister Zoe and Sister Danny and get them to come down here. They're coming anyway from Chicago, but get them involved and we can help facilitate and get the message and the word out. So we're doing something now. They messed up when they gave us the internet because we're using it for our full advantage.
Yeah.
So we're talking now about policy over party. Now what do we mean by that? We're talking about looking at the policies that the people are giving us and not just jumping onto any party. We're not doing that because it's a new day. I want to introduce my sisters here. I don't have their technical bios, but can you tell us a little bit about why you're doing Flip Chicago Red for those that may not know or who have been living under a bridge somewhere? We're going to talk about it.
Okay, well, I'm Danielle Carter. I'm a fitness trainer. I have a business, You Against You Fitness. I started off because my husband who's just recently retired from CPD. We saw where he saw the BS far as just being a police officer with the crime in our communities. Then to top it off, what did it was with the illegal aliens, when he saw they brought them here and they took our resources, put them in the police stations, put them in our schools and field houses, and they could not arrest them. They told them to stand down. Well, he's been on the force almost 30 years. He saw how they arrested us. And it was nothing, no crowd. The Democrat probably didn't cry out for us. Some were arrested unjustly, just in the system, we know that. But what I'm saying is no cry out for them. But when you saw these illegal aliens, it was stand down. They were allowed to just roam free and do what they wanted to do. But that was for him. What did it for me was, when I say policies over politics, and this before I even decided to do Republican, it was when my husband, when COVID came. I'm a trainer, so I talk about always about herbs and things that's natural to your body and not taking all this medicine. And when I got on, when I used to get on social media and talk about what the COVID thing, they wanted to push this shot on us. I used to talk to my people about, let's do something natural. Your body naturally heals itself. If you feed it and you working out, your body, God made our body where it's designed to fight off a virus. If they telling us it's a virus, your body is going to fight it off. So this is what it naturally does. We don't have to take that. Then I got shadow banned. They took my page down. It was everything. So I was censored. Then they told my husband that it was mandatory that he had to get this COVID shot or he was going to lose his job, lose his pension. Now he had been on the force for like 20-some years. So you're going to mandate them to take this garbage that you don't even know nothing about, and then you're going to tell them, what about my body, my choice? But it wasn't our body and our choice. You was going to take the way he feed his family. You was going to take that away from him if he didn't take this shot, and you were taking our livelihood and his pension from him. So it was forced on him. I didn't take it. You got to kill me, whatever you're going to do, I'm not taking it. So then you couldn't fly. You couldn't do all that. I was willing to go through all of that. So what that was, when that happened, I started looking at I did a deep dive on policies. And then the fake, what the media was telling us. And lo and behold, I could not believe when I was researching myself and looking up policies, everything Donald Trump had told us in 2016 about this border wall, about the COVID thing, when they lied on him about taking the bleach thing, when he was just saying it's a natural way you can do it. And when I did a deep dive, I could not believe how the fake news lied to us, and I could not believe the policies that they pushed on us and everything this man was trying to save us from and trying to warn us. And after that, researching and doing the things for myself, I realized it's no way. My belief, I don't align with illegal immigration. I don't align with open borders. I'm a Christian. When I did a deep dive and I understood the Democratic Party, I don't align with any of their policies or belief. I don't believe in teaching our kids you can be a trans at 0 to 5, gender affirming stations, yet they can't even read. I don't align with that. I don't align with open borders. I don't align with paying high taxes and being taxed because I tried to me and my husband got a business. We are business owners. He was still working at CPD. I don't lie on my taxes. I pay big taxes. We did everything right. Good credit, paid into the system. We did everything they told us you're supposed to do. We bought a building thanks to President Trump with the opportunity zones for blighted areas. So that money supposed to come with TIF. Where you're supposed to be able to build up your business. When we tried to do that, when we bought that building, guess what? The Democratic Party made sure that we didn't get no money to open that business. Now my plan was, and I told them, because I did try to get a grant, neighborhood opportunity grant that was supposed to be for women, people of color, marginalized communities. We as black women or black people never got, we don't get that because Indians can get it, because Hispanics can get it, because illegals can get it. They all lump them in. So with that being said, when we tried to get these things that were supposed to be for us, we couldn't get them. Now small business loan, we tried to get the small business loan. It was always something. You can't have this, you need this, you need this. We would give them all of that. But they would always find something. Yet and still, I'm seeing illegal alien business popping up all in my community. We don't own anything in our community. But how is a Venezuelan pizza shop or shops starting to pop up, and they're allowed to have restaurants on the corner of our residential areas? So how is that allowed to happen? And so as you do a deep dive, like I said, when you look at that, you'll understand the policies that the Democratic Party push are a detriment to our communities and to us, to the black Americans. And I don't understand how anybody who's dealing with this, maybe in some Democratic ran cities or whatever, y'all may not be dealing with this. I'm almost certain y'all are. But in Chicago, for sure, that has been ran Democrats since 1931. You can't blame the Republicans on this. Our communities are trash, and they have been on a steady decline for a long time now. And we had black faces in high places. So this is not white supremacy. This is black supremacy. This is black gatekeeping. This is black on black crime. So when you look at all of those things, it's no way when it comes to policies over party, I can't align myself with the Democrat Party, but the Republican Party policies I align with. They're not, and I'm just not going to say this, guys, and I'm going to land my plane. You got to look at, you got to understand, you got the established Republicans, you got the Democratic Party, and then you got MAGA. MAGA is for Make America Great Again. When you look, they hated Trump, and the Democrats and the established Republicans hated him. But when you looked at his policies, they were for America first, Americans first. And when you see that, it was a lot of things that you all say don't help specifically for the black community, but it was. It really was things that his when I looked at his policies, I said this is everything as a business owner and somebody who want to establish something, who don't want to be on welfare, who want to have generational wealth for my kids. These policies align with what I'm doing. I don't want to be a victim. I don't want to be oppressed. I can make something happen. So when I look at all of that, I aligned exactly with his policies. It was policies over party for me. I'm not a victim. I'm not oppressed. And I'm none of those things the Democratic Party told me I was.
All right, I wanted to say, to dovetail on what you said, one of the things I've always taught people, or tried to teach people, is look at who's running your community and how is your community running. You cannot say, I'm blaming the Republicans in Washington, D.C.
No way.
Nor in Maryland.
No way.
Because it's been run by, other than people will mention the past governor from Maryland, but I'm like, look at the legislature. Everybody's Democrat. They don't, so how could you blame high taxes on Republicans?
Right.
They weren't running anything. They never did.
Yeah.
DC, the first mayor was Mayor Washington. Then it was my mayor and mentor, Marion Barry. Things were running better back then, but right now we're a nonpartisan organization. But I said you got to look at who's running what and how is it running for you. You can't blame somebody that's not in power.
And then you have, and what's crazy to me, how is it that in Chicago, you're mad at me because I decided that I educated myself on policy, not you. I did not feelings, emotions. I'm looking at my community. I'm going down there. We've been seeing how they're voting. Now this is the black, Brandon Johnson told us he had the blackest administration ever. He's a black man, got a black wife and 3 black kids. We seeing, And we got the Hispanic KKK down there who's voting for everything in their community for their people, illegal aliens and their people and their business. Yet and still they talking about black and brown. But when it come down, they killing the black, but the brown getting everything and illegal aliens. And you aligning with that. So then you tell us that it's white supremacy when we down there seeing everything y'all voting on, everything y'all advocating for. You silencing the black people, but you yet allowing illegal aliens to come up there and have a voice, to advocate for everything they want, and you all are doing it. So when you look at this and then you tell me this man is a white supremacist, where everything we asked him to do, he's doing it and trying his best. But if we say, think about it. We've been doing Democrat for 40 years, 50 years, 60. They gave us a reparation study in the city hall meeting at 500,000. Tell me, they never talked about it again. This was like last year and a half. Reparation study. This man, think of if we, after 50 years, if you can't get this man 4 years to say, okay, let's go and see what he's talking about. He already he already separating us from everybody else. So we can't come together as black Americans and say, okay, you know what? As a whole, let's say, hey, Trump, we see what you're doing. We appreciate what you're doing. You separating us. You separating us from illegal aliens, that 14th Amendment, because you trying to date illegal alien babies. No, they not. They descendants of slave babies, like he said. So you separating that. Thank you. You know what? That's already starting to shake them up. Trump, you know what? Black America would be willing to talk to you, and we'll keep this red forever. Can you talk to us as a whole? Let's talk. We ready to come and talk to you, sit down as a whole and tell you about the economic resource. He know what they doing in our community with the crime. And he been telling us they stealing our money and they want the crime to keep going. He been trying to tell us that. So you see what's going on. Can we talk? And maybe we can work something out and look, we can have that priority, we can take, it can be our priority. Black America, white America, however you want to, Hispanics, however you want to do. You think that man wouldn't sit down and talk to us? He sat down with Ice Cube. You think he wouldn't sit down and say, okay, the whole as a black Americans want to sit down and talk to me, and that's defeat this Democratic Party forever? You think he wouldn't? But we so crazy to. You can't stand him. You can't stand him. Now you got Chicago flips red. Hey, Trump, we need you here. A little bit of us saying that, and he listened to the little bit of us. Imagine if the masses of Chicago said that. First of all, it's going to force the Democrat Party, because it's a one-party system in Chicago, Democrat from head to toe. So they have no opposing factor. It's all from the down to from the judges to the lawyers. From everybody, it's Democrat. So you can't get no help as a black American. And when they get in office, they say, I promise not to help you, a black. They do. They swear that. So you can't get nothing. You got to have some type of opposing factor there to say, okay, no open borders and closed borders. They got to let them fight. High taxes, low taxes for this. You got to let them fight it out, because there's a bipartisan in Chicago. But y'all crazy enough and mad at us because we see the situation and saying, no, y'all not gonna keep SHIT on us as black in the black community. Y'all done brought a whole nother country over here and took us out of and moved us out of our community and put them in front of us, and then doubling down and say you protecting even illegal alien criminals. You not gonna let them come in our community, take them. So and y'all mad at us because we say, Trump, we need your help. And he say, I got y'all. ICE, let's go. Y'all gotta be a fool to think that we're gonna sit up there and keep dealing with that while our kids are dying. We have mass shootings every week. Every day we have shootings, but I'm talking about mass shootings. They going to funerals, now they glamorizing, now they dancing and stuff. You think we gonna keep dealing with that and y'all just mad at us because y'all want to keep voting 50 years of the Democrat and won't try nothing different for at least 4 years? You can't give them 4 years? This man in office and say, hey, could we all come together and say, think about if all freedmen, we all just said, Trump, we got something for you. We want you to look at this plan for us. We rolled it out. We got this. This is what we need. Can you look at that for us? I'm talking about as a whole, everybody singing the same thing. That man would be like, You think he wouldn't? He hear the little, me and Zoe, he hear just us little bitty mouth. Could you imagine the whole, man?
It's nothing like common sense.
But that's what happened with Lincoln. Some people got behind, before you know it, put guns in people's hands, and nobody thought Lincoln was gonna do that. They tried something different. We gotta do something different.
But that's the thing too, it's a new day. It's not, I mean, the people that are on the news media that are talking supposedly for Black Americans, that's the old guard that but we don't listen to. We're our own leadership at this point, the American Freedmen. So one of the things that we definitely want to be known is that we're not following the old guard that are getting a lot of the publicity. And I definitely wanted to hear from Sister Zoe, who's down from Chicago, Flips Red. Sister Zoe, why? I know part of your story, but others may not. Can you tell us about what made you put policy over party?
That's my mother over there. My mother, that's my first love, and my last love. The city of Chicago unlawfully demolished our family's building and my mother's investment. She put money in that building, and she fought from 2017 until she went into the hospital 2023. And I was living in Atlanta, and I packed my stuff up in Atlanta and moved to Chicago to fight this fight. I come from Dick Gregory. I used to be at Dick Gregory from 2013, 2017. And I also believe in the U.S. Constitution. I wasn't political at all. I didn't care about none of that. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm going to get my money. I'm going to do what I'm going to do regardless. I don't have to depend on the government, any of those things. But when I realized that I protested outside for 17 weeks and Brandon Johnson went through every other door but the front door, was like, damn. Then you had 20 black aldermen down there who walked past me too. Because I stood out there from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. every day. And finally, this lady by the name of Jessica Jackson and George Blakemore brought me inside, and I got on the mic, and I just kept asking the mayor, like, hey man, can you just sit and talk to my mom? City of Chicago knocked down the building. We got a lawsuit over here in the federal court. And he just kept ignoring. So then finally I said, look man, I said, I was living in Atlanta when they flipped Georgia blue for the first time. I said, if you don't settle my mother's case, I'll flip Chicago red. This is the worst customer service I've ever had in my life. It wasn't about no racism. It wasn't about none of that. It was about how my mother's 70, at that time she was 74. My mother's giving you her vote since she was 18, the Democratic Party. And y'all gonna take from her and then keep screaming white supremacy? Nah, this is black on black crime. And we continue to do it, and because no one doesn't stick up. I know my privilege. I don't need to wait for anybody. I don't need to ask for permission, any of that. I don't need 1,000 people with me. It was myself, Miss Jessica, and then Danielle came. Danielle, myself, and three people have the south side of Chicago. Danielle's from the south side, Miss Jackson from the south side, and my mother's from the south side. This is Chicago. I'm watching all these illegals coming in. I'm watching him stealing all this money. This man has stole over billions of dollars for this, while I'm watching him displace our seniors, our children, our families in our community by screaming affordable housing, and this is white supremacy. How, when you are doing it? I watched you go down there. You took an oath, and you took an oath to the Democratic Party, to that corrupt machine, and to illegal aliens. And if we did not push back the way we pushed back, we would have been done. And when people sit and talk about, I will, you could call me whatever, just don't call me no Democrat. Don't ever call me no Democrat. The fact that we have all these black puppets in front, and they can't help you if they want to help you. They're all compromised. I'll be 40 in January. Do you think I'm gonna do another 40 years of this? God knew 1964 was when the Civil Rights Act, right? 2024, what happened? Just shifts, just stopped. Because if that lady would have got in, it was over. So God came and our ancestors came. Because it was done. We were over. It was over. And if you love yourself, if you love your culture, if you love your people, regardless of how much they don't even love you, I don't care. You gotta say, Dick Gregory told me the last year before he passed away, he kept telling me, save yourself. Save yourself. And when you go back and think about Mr. Gregory, they was at the height. They really could have, if Jesse Jackson was really a stand-up person, we would have been had our stuff. We would have had our corporations. Johnson & Johnson still would have had Ebony and Jet. We still would have been on. We had everything and the greatest allies. John Lennon, Oyoko Ono, we had everybody. We had Dick Gregory, we had the health, we had everything. And they sold us out. So when people want to argue with me back and forth online about Chicago flips red, what I stand for, I'm a coon, I'm this, I'm that, the only coons is the ones who kept that blue going. Y'all are the certified coons. We just dealt with it today.
Oh man.
What happened?
They because we going to the Black Caucus. Now you say that Congressional Black Caucus is for the black people, right? We black. I thought I was. We went there discriminated against because Chicago flips red. Because we see when you got opposed, and let me say this because I remember my thought I was gonna say. To see people that I know who doing well off, who retired in Chicago, to have the nerve to tell me to vote blue and mad at me because I didn't, but yet they go move to the red states. They moving there by the droves. They saying, why are you moving there? Because your son's car got stole 10 times in the span of 1 month in Chicago. Because you paying taxes, had taxes, and they going back up on our taxes. Brandon Johnson going back up on our taxes, and you gonna tell me in Texas the taxes are low, you can do everything you want to do, they take care of the taxes for the senior citizens, you don't really pay taxes, all that. You gonna talk about the school is so safe for you there in the red state, but yet you gonna try to tell me so in other words, you keep voting for this garbage. I gotta leave here because I love my family, my kids, I want them to live. I want to retire and just sit back in my big old house that I pay low taxes, no crime, and this and that. But you keep voting blue and stay where you at. And I'm going to listen to that. So most of those people I know who talking that stuff, when they retire, they go move to red states for peace, quiet, low taxes, everything. No crime, because they want to live. They say they want to live. They don't want to die in Chicago. But you want to keep telling me that I got kids here to vote this way and then mad at me? How dare me be that dumb to even, it's just like me allowing Pritzker and Brandon Johnson to speak for me. I don't come from privilege. I'm born and raised on the south side of Chicago. Born and raised, they call it Terror Town. When I was born and raised, I raised my kids there. It's still Terror Town to this day. So I'm not that one from privilege. I'm not that girl. I'm born and raised here. And for you to sit there and tell me that this is what I'm supposed to keep doing and allow, and I'm gonna let Brandon Johnson from Elgin, Pritzker, billionaire, speak for me and tell me that they wouldn't dare subject their kids or family to what I'm going through. They would not dare subject them to that. But to tell me I'm straight, I'm good, ain't no problem here, and I'm gonna let these people speak for me when I gotta go outside and dodging bullets, scared, hey son, where you at? Call me when you get home. And this is what I'm voting for. And then this man, but y'all fighting to keep illegal alien families together when the Democratic Party tore our families apart. Tore them apart with the 94 crime, tore them apart with the drugs. But yet y'all telling me to feel sorry for people who crossed this border illegally, made a conscious decision to do it, and then Brandon Johnson had the nerve to compare that to slavery? Which is a slap in our face. Jasmine Crockett got a nerve to keep comparing these people to the plight of the slaves, and we just sit there and let her. You will never see them compare these illegal aliens to the plight of the Jewish plight. Why don't they do that? Not one black politician ever compared this to the Jewish plight. But we allowed that, and we allowed it. We should have checked that down in the first place. Let me tell you something. Don't you ever compare this to us. But we don't. We just go for it because they black and President Trump or the Republicans racist, and we go for that. No, we're going to start holding them accountable. If you don't do what you don't, and then we got to start getting in government. Do you know how many people that we talk to who say, I don't just do politics. I don't do that. I can't do politics. So y'all let foreigners come over here in a span of 2 years, come in here and get in office and advocate for everything they want, put their people in, diluting our vote, because that's what they doing. Yeah. Diluting our vote. Y'all allow these people to come in here and then tell you how oppressed you are while making millions in your country. Tell you as a black person you can't make it, but you a foreigner came in, and now you making millions, bringing your people, y'all setting up business all in our community, but you telling me what I can't do. So I'm allow this. And then I'm gonna be okay with all these people who got black faces telling me why I can't make it and stuff, while y'all allowing foreigners to get in office, and you gonna tell me as black Americans I don't do politics. Like me and Zoe said, well, they doing us. And if you don't get in politics and say, hey, I'm gonna be the change, we're going to keep getting these Jasmine Crockett's. We're going to keep getting these Maxine Waters. We're going to keep getting these Hakeem Jeffrey. All these people came from privilege, so they really don't know the black American struggle, who came from really where we come from, but they going to talk like they do, and they privileged. We're going to keep allowing these people to speak for us while making millions.
So what happened today?
Oh yeah, so I'm sorry, but yeah, so we went there. Okay, but I just had to, because I had to, but yeah, we go there to the.
We appreciate it though.
Yeah, we went there to the Black Caucus, right? So Chicago flips red. We go there. Man, we supposed to be 7:45, and it's the Black Caucus, right? They said we go there. They don't have nothing. They don't even have our name on there. Don't have our name. Don't even have the number, nothing. Chicago flips red, 745 is our booth number. That don't even exist on the map. They don't even have it. Wow. We the only black Republicans there. No, you nothing. So Zoe like, okay, I'm trying to be nice, stuff like that. They smart, getting smart and stuff like that. And then, so Zoe like, now for to go there, y'all done lost y'all mind. You know what I'm saying? We paid for this, y'all got the nerve, and now y'all mad because y'all know who we are, so you pissed off. So then the security guard gonna tell us they real rude. And then he gonna say, Trump ain't welcome here because we Republicans. Trump ain't welcome here. Got him on that. That's going viral on X. He about to probably lose his job. So, yeah. So you discriminating against us now. It ain't black on black crime. Now it ain't, because that's what they do. It ain't, it's not that. Now you discriminate us for our political association.
It's still discrimination. Like,
yeah.
It's still discrimination. At the end of the day, we pay. I look at this like business. So that's why I don't care when people try to come at me like I told that security guard, we're in a policy where it says that you can tell me that Trump ain't welcome here. They're like, where is it? Where, show me in the policy, your policy, where you that for the security that you can tell me your that who not welcome here. You are the security, okay? So this is the issue with us. Then I paid just like everybody else paid in here. The map, people coming here to see us. So now our map, our name is not anywhere. Our number, our booth not anywhere. You got this man walking with a dolly everywhere with our stuff. I'm walking back and forth. This lady, worst wig on earth. She like, well, you just gonna have to wait. No, I don't have to wait. Nobody else had to wait. Why I gotta wait? Why I gotta wait? I was like, y'all don't understand customer service, but y'all sit here with this black caucus. Everything is black, but Freedmen, the people who put the stage stuff up, Don Freedman, white boy.
Mm-hmm.
Jeff Freedman, his son. They can pass their shit down. You doing all the stage stuff. First walk in, Google, Meta, Disney. But you got the niggas in the back. Got the niggas in the back. See what I'm saying? At the there you go, sis. At the Congressional Black Caucus. Yeah. You see what I'm saying?
Act two. This is
family,
Sorry.
thank you.
Sorry.
Now you see why we're having this event, right? Information that you would never get anywhere else. Right. So what we wanted to do right now is speak to Brother Andre and Numbers USA, and we're going to get his perspective on what Numbers USA is, and he's going to share that out with us.
Okay, Melissa. Oh, okay, sir. Okay.
So I'm sorry, we're going to go to the video of...
I have a PowerPoint, but I can stand right over here. You guys, yeah.
Kelly, I'm gonna.
You guys want to do your video?
Are you able to...
Okay, let me preface it by saying, this is Ralph Abernathy. Dr. King was assassinated in the summer of '68. And this is the Southern Christian Leadership Conference meeting directly after the assassination. Ralph Abernathy was floating the idea of boycotting voting for the president, period. With all the negotiations Dr. King did with LBJ and the Democrats, the summer after he was assassinated, this is what the Southern Christian Leadership Conference was talking about during that conference. So we're saying this to say that this is not a new concept. We are not a monolith. These sisters here with the Chicago Flips Red, this is born out of their personal experience in their neighborhood. So for those of us that have a favorable view of illegal immigration, I bet you it's not happening in your neighborhood.
Yeah.
We are the canaries in the coal mine for whatever the political experiment is for the day.
That's the truth.
And so we're going to bridge the past with the present because we're the future. I was telling the sister earlier today that God has us here for a reason, and you can't pour new wine in old skins. This is a new generation, and we are speaking out and we're speaking up. These people are family members. We are not here paid. Those people in the Congressional Black Caucus, and when we talk about the Pan-African organizations that are literally working against us, they are paid. They're paid through foundations, they're paid through political handouts, and yes, they are paid. We're here after work. These sisters get in a van and come drive across town, across the country to participate in the political system, and then they're turned away. Turned away in a caucus, and then they tell us we're divisive. So let's let Brother Abernathy, Reverend Abernathy speak, and then we're going to hand it over to Andre.
All right. Can you hear it? Oh, it's not connected up there. You gotta be really quiet.
Can you turn off the AC for a second?
Yes.
But there may be less enthusiasm. I said, but there may be less enthusiasm for Hubert Humphrey. for fear that he will be controlled by Mayor Daley in Chicago and Senator Eastman in Mississippi and Lyndon Baines.
That's 200-word essay in 10 minutes.
Nice.
You talk about man there, we.
Okay, skip, this is
On the right hand side.
skip.
Thomas, because he's actually using
That's Danny.
Huh?
That's Danny.
So it's not new.
And Lyndon Baines Johnson, who is presently in the White House. And as black people and poor people, we are not going to let Thurman dictate us, neither are we going to let LBJ Daley and the rest dictate to us.
Dr. Abernathy endorsed no other candidate, but he said Negro votes hold the balance of power in the South. He said Negroes might boycott the presidential elections, but would work for the election of friendly congressmen. Militancy in politics, he's made it plain, is a major new direction for the organization. Robert Shackney, CBS News, Memphis.
Those Coretta Scott.
That's it. So.
It's interesting.
He said
was here,
vote
right?
for, he said we would work with friendly congressmen and vote in that favor. He didn't choose a party, and he actively said if neither one of the presidential candidates are for us, we will boycott it. But we will still show up to the polls to vote for friendly congresspeople.
And he said we.
So that's policy over party.
That's right.
This is our history.
And he said we. About how many people was he talking about? It looked like a lot.
Yeah.
A lot. So I mean, it shows me that when you have that many people all voting one way, that's some power.
That's power.
Why can't we have it?
Man.
That's the key right there.
Because 92% of us are scared in Compton.
Or either our leadership or people that we allow to be our leadership are paid to betray us, and we follow Judas goats. Most people aren't leaders. We shouldn't blame these ordinary people. They're folks who are well educated, who know better.
Yeah.
I've worked for the caucus. I've dealt with a bunch of these different people. I remember John Conyers walking around his drawers in his office, bothering people back in the night. I didn't just like him. I'm just saying, you see things. And you see Congressman Payne, who I told God would kill him within 12 months, because I went to him after being in Libya with Gaddafi, came back and said they're raping and mutilating and making snuff porn with black women and girls. Could you make them stop? And he laughed in my face and said, well, these things kind of happen, started chuckling. This is a black member of Congress laughing about black women being mutilated and butchered in my face. And I asked him what the F use are, nigger congressmen and congresswomen, if you don't care about black women and girls. I told him God will strike you down within 12 months. He died 11 months later. Okay, but this is the mindset. They don't care once they become entrenched, rich, and empowered. They don't care. They see themselves. Have you ever seen black doctors or professionals? And they talk about the white doctors, that's what we do, the black doctors, their colleagues. They're not black anymore once they become professionals, and they're lawyers or they're cops, and they're bloody bus heads, and they don't see it because they want their pension. We have these kinds of people in high places who are the same way that African immigrants identify with Latino and Asian as immigrants. These so-called successful or black first types identify along class and professional lines and not along people, not along lineage. And we have to punish anyone that doesn't get it.
Agreed.
All right.
All right. All right. So we're gonna go through this really fast. All right. So if you guys have questions, let me know. I don't want to take the energy out of this room because I know that we're gonna have more discussion and more questions. But I want to make sure we get this information out to people because there's a very important judicial decision that's getting ready to happen in the Supreme Court. And this is this birthright citizenship. And a few things I want you guys to know is that they're not going to change the birthright citizen law. people that are born in the United States are going to continue to become citizens. They're just gonna amend it for who is actually a citizen once that happens. So I'm gonna go over some of the legal terms here. I'm not a lawyer, but there's some basic Latin that we need to know. So jus soli means the law of the soil. And basically it's anyone who is born on the soil in the United States is a citizen. Then there's the law of blood. By contrast, this means that a child's citizenship is based on their parents. And then the current practice is that anyone born in the United States is considered an American citizen regardless of whether their parents are US citizens, legal residents, temporary visitors, or illegal aliens. So this is the problem that Donald Trump is trying to fix, because we shouldn't be in a situation where people are coming in illegally, neither one of their parents are a citizen, and then they have a child, and then they're anchored to this country. Because the child, after they turn 18, they can sponsor the parent or pay rent. So let's continue.
Wow.
Ilhan Omar.
Right.
All right. So guaranteed by the Constitution or not. So what I want to highlight is birthright, the citizen definition. The one that I want you to look at is all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and of the state wherein they reside. So this is the subject to the jurisdiction thereof is under a lot of debate, but this is something that was never voted on by the Supreme Court. This was something that was never really clarified in our Constitution. So the 14th Amendment, as you guys all know, was primarily aimed at enfranchising freed slaves and their descendants, not the children born to people of foreign allegiances. So this is what the subject to the jurisdiction thereof, the subject to the United States. And part of the reason why they had to start making these designations is because they were, as the United States was expanding and we were getting into wars, they were asking the French to fight with them. They were asking the Spanish to fight with them. And these countries were coming back. You can't ask our people to fight for you in these wars. So they had to start making clarification on who was actually an American. So they disenfranchised these people, our people, for almost 400 years, and then they released them. And then they had to figure out what to do with us after we were freed. So this was aimed at enfranchising us to get some of the freedoms that we hadn't received before. So Congress has not clarified the language, the subject to the jurisdiction thereof. So this is what they're going to argue in the Supreme Court next month, in October. All right, so we'll go to the next slide. All right, so we're going to look at some of the legal and legislative efforts. So this Wong Kim Ark case, United States versus Wong Kim Ark, is part of the reason why people claim that the 14th Amendment is extended to illegal aliens. His parents were lawful Chinese immigrants who, under both the Naturalization Law of 1802 and the Chinese Exclusion Act, were not eligible for naturalization. So they had status, but they weren't eligible to be naturalized full citizen in the United States. So what ended up happening is in 1898, the Supreme Court ruled in favor of birthright citizenship for children born to legal permanent immigrants. So what happened was Wong Kim Ark, he left the country, all right? The first time he left the country and came back wasn't a problem. The second time he left the country and came back, they said, like, wait, you're not a citizen, are you? And then they looked at his parents and they were like, well, we're gonna have to see if we're gonna let you back in because your parents are naturalized citizens of this country. So they took it to the Supreme Court and they ruled in favor that Wong Kim Ark could come back, and that since his parents had legal status, that he had status. All right. So, but what they never ruled on whether the 14th Amendment applies to the children of illegal aliens. but they use this case
Right.
to highlight that. So we'll go on. All right, now, I want you to take you guys back to 1993. Harry Reid, he said, we're making it easy to be an illegal alien. It isn't enough. How about offering a reward for being an illegal immigrant? No sane country would do that, right? Think again. If you break our laws by entering this country without permission and give birth to a child, we reward we reward that child with U.S. citizenship, a guarantee to full access to public and social services that this society provides with our taxpayer money. It is any wonder that 2/3 of our babies born at taxpayer expense at country-run hospitals in Los Angeles are not born to illegal alien mothers. So do you see what he's saying? So he tried to instill an act called the Harry Reid Stabilization Act, and it would have reduced legal immigration by 2/3 and protected taxpayer through a robust definition of public charge to ensure aliens weren't getting benefits that they shouldn't get. And he wanted that 14th Amendment bill clarified. So this was the first time that we had an administration, a leader, push back against the definition of the 14th Amendment. Go ahead.
So I see it says 1993. Is that just the year he was the Senate Majority Leader, or is that when he executed
That was when he made this quote.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's when he made this quote.
Oh, and you tell, I didn't know, see, it's Numbers USA, I didn't know the numbers, but in 1993, in LA County, 2/3 of the babies born at taxpayer expense were illegal alien babies.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's why LA is gone.
That's not shocking to me.
Yeah. That's
Yeah, so that's what's
What
happening.
is it now?
LA, what you got right now?
We can't even talk.
What you got right now?
Pablo Espanol.
Yeah. No black communities over there. Black Mecca gone. All that.
And
That's LA County, I wonder what like.
places like Inglewood and the different hoods that used to be like black are completely Hispanic now. So that's where this 2/3 started coming in.
That's
Correct. Yep.
Okay.
We'll go to the next one. Okay, and then we have Trump's executive order. And I want to kind of get into the meat and potatoes of this one because it is a policy of the United States that no department or agency of the United States government shall issue documents recognizing U.S. citizenship or accept documents issued by state, local, or other government authorities purporting to recognize U.S. citizens to these specific people. So, if the mother is unlawfully present in the United States, and the father's not of the United States, is not a citizen, then if you have a child that's born in the United States, nobody has citizenship, you're not a citizen. So this is what this first step. So they're putting out the category. When the person's mother's presence in the United States was lawful but temporary, and the person's father was not a U.S. citizen, then that person, if they have a child, that couple, their child is not a U.S. citizen. So it's not just about being born on the soil, it's about who is by blood and it's by status. Now the third result. So what they're doing in these last two bullet points is they're establishing that this is not retroactive. It's from January 20th into the future. So what are they doing? They're trying to close the loopholes to what we've seen with birthright citizenship in the past. So they're not going to strip anybody of their citizenship if they violated any of these things prior to January 20th, 2024, 2025.
So I just had a question. So
Okay, go ahead.
let's just say parents are citizens, and you're traveling abroad or staying abroad. A kid, that kid doesn't have the principle of jus soli, right? So would they still, because of the status of the parents, are still a U.S. citizen, would they then have citizenship rights?
So you're saying if the parents, they were citizens,
Yes.
and they had the baby abroad,
Yeah.
would that baby be a citizen? Yes.
Yeah.
That baby would be a United States citizen because the parents have status. Both the parents have status.
Right. Or if, let's say one does either
Either
as long
one.
as it's one.
Yeah, as long as it's one.
Okay.
And I have a question.
Go ahead.
Okay, so, or you're aware that in their argument, they're going to present also allegiance to the country?
Mhm.
Like they're highlighting how can an illegal alien immigrant have an allegiance to this country
Mhm.
when you don't have any citizenship?
Right, you're not a subject.
Exactly, you can't
Right.
have any allegiance, you're not here.
You're a subject of another country. You happen to come here illegally,
Right.
but you're a subject of another country.
Right, and your parents, right?
Yeah.
So, I look at this really, y'all, and I know you may think I'm crazy, I know some people don't like what I say, but this is human trafficking.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
absolutely.
What, can I ask you a question? What about the people that Biden fast track the millions
Right.
to citizenship during this short period of time within, you know, before the election? What's clear on that? Are they
That
going-
temporary protected status, everybody got up in arms about that because Trump reversed it.
Yes.
Reversed it for the Haitians, reversed it for the Venezuelans, reversed it for the Cubans. Because they were on the temporary, those were the three groups that were on the temporary protected status list. And Trump said that that's null and void.
No.
And we're not doing that. Go ahead.
No, I'm talking about the people that they fast tracked to citizenship.
Mhm.
You know, like that not
Oh, the people that they fast tracked to
you know,
citizenship.
they went, remember they hired all them judges, like about, you know, hundreds of judges, thousands, and they were fast tracking them to citizen, like giving them their citizenship status. I didn't see, do you know about if those people who just within a year time, are they
Right.
gonna be that-
Their situation is gonna be reviewed. Because what the Trump administration is doing now is they're looking to see if there are any cases of fraud
okay.
with any of these cases. So they're looking at all those cases. Now, some of those people, they might just be in.
They gonna slip
But
through.
some of them, they did some shady things. And it's gonna come out. So some of those people are not gonna, it's gonna be reversed.
And what about DACA? I know it was ruled unconstitutional. So, and there's, what, at least 10 or 20 million of them, or 10 million of them?
Yes,
DACA?
and here's the thing with DACA, and this is where we get into the long-term legislation. Because what's happened is the Trump administration and Trump 1.0 tried to deal with DACA, tried to reverse that. But they didn't do some of the paperwork right. There was like a minor thing that they didn't do right, and it got kicked out. And then, of course, the Biden administration didn't do anything about it. Now, this is something that could be picked up again, but I think the priority is gonna be with the birthright citizenship, with dealing with the enforcement at our borders. That's gonna come first, and then they're gonna look at this too. Because this is on their wish list to get rid of it. Because it's not constitutional, it was ruled unconstitutional. But they're trying to figure out, what are we gonna do with these people? Because, you know, they came here as children and they don't really know another country. But now all these people are in their 30s. A lot of them are in their 30s. So it really is just like, how are we going to repatriate these people? And is there a political will to actually, you know, force those people to go back? And you might find that there is.
To my next question.
Okay.
What will we do if they grant them amnesty?
If they, now, here's the thing. We are not in a position now where we have to make any compromises. We have the House, we have the presidency, and we have the courts. So we don't have to make any concessions. Now, if they're gonna give us something and that we think is valuable enough for us to be like, okay, we can do that, that's fine, but we're not gonna come out front and ask for that or expect that. We don't need to do that because we have the law on our side, we have the resources, and now it could just be about business. And one of you guys mentioned that this is a child trafficking thing. Did you guys know that we're still in that situation?
Yes.
That there are 500,000 unaccompanied minors that are still in the country now, and there is a bill that we're trying to utilize to deal with that, but the Senate committee, they got together and they did an investigation. They found out that they were sending children to people that hadn't been background checked. They were sending children into people that were on a do not send children list. They were sending children out into the community where they were in unsafe situations. There have been children that have been working in meat packing plants. Do you guys know how dangerous those jobs are? And the reason that they're dangerous is because they kicked out the unions out of the meat packing places. The conditions are horrible, the pay is horrible, and instead of getting Americans in the right pay and the right conditions, they're gonna use children. There's other children that have been raped as a result of them placing them with parents that said, oh, I'm a family member, I'm a brother, and they continuously rape 14-year-old girls. So I am at the point where if we don't work on getting long-term legislation, that we're going to see a situation where all of this progress that Trump made can be reversed. We can't legislate through executive order over this.
I just want to say something too, because the claim is often made that, we have a labor shortage, and so we need these folks over here working. And this is both the illegal immigration labor and the H-1B visa labor. But what I would like to see is a program to, create or retrain or reinvigorate people to get back in the job market, to take advantage of some of these openings, whether it be starting your contracting company and going and filling these voids with the corporations, the government. It's all these companies. I like the thing that was just done, $100,000 per H-1B visa. That's supposed to dissuade.
But again, that's another executive order that's only for 1 year. So we have to get the long-term policy. But the Trump administration, they've been doing well because they have the political will to want to make changes at even the executive level. So we have that on our side, but I don't want to see in the midterms all of it be reversed.
But this is why. This is why I keep saying, y'all. This is why we keep saying it's so important that we don't let these people get back in office because they're going to undo it. You see how hard they're fighting for these illegal aliens to stay here. If we let them get back in, it's over for us. Now think about this. And see, this is what we have to think about. You got millions. You let 22 million over here. Imagine if they got kids, their kids start having kids, and their kids start having kids, and they're all in our community. That's gonna dilute us, period. We're gonna keep playing as Black Americans. We're gonna keep playing and being stupid, and it's gonna be over for us because the Hispanic community, and they right here with us now, as far as the population.
Without the delineation, they've exceeded.
They exceeded. And then they want us to kill our kids, but yet they're advocating for them to keep their kids and have kids. If we don't stop playing, and then they got these illegal aliens having that's what we keep saying. We cannot let these, and that's why we're going so hard. Because now it's just not a Republican thing, y'all. It's about putting the right people in, because we got to look at the policies. Who's for closed borders? Who's for not this? Because if we allow this, it's over, because we know that illegal immigration hurts us the most, period. Absolutely. So we have to be strategic in making sure the Democratic Party understand, first of all, don't you ever play with us again. Second of all, you will never get into power until we allow you to. And then, if we and what y'all talking about? Because see, we the new conservative. So if we get in office, we know what we want. So what we doing here?